Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, as well as the Fin Fanatic website and the Fansided Network. If it looks like I'm broadcasting from a creepy basement tonight, it's just the other side of my basement, actually.
It's where
'Cause
he
we've had
watches
some
his fullback snuff films.
because we've had some technical difficulties here tonight. But that doesn't detract from the fact that the Dolphins are 3-0, and they are the only team in the AFC that are 3-0. They beat the Buffalo Bills here 21-19 today in a game that I'm going to admit that I did not expect the Dolphins to win. Not at all. I thought the Bills were the best team in the league. And
Not anymore, baby.
I still think they're the best team in the league, but not today. Not today.
Well, if you go by the records, they're tied for second in the conference.
Yes, they are. And what a crazy game. And the biggest thing when it comes to the Bills-Dolphins game is over the last 13 games, the Bills have not scored under 27 points except for one game. And that was the Mac Jones game, where there were 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it was a whole bunch of craziness. But, Paul, the Dolphins' defense, Josh Allen still threw for 400 yards.
Whatever.
But the Dolphins' defense put him in a box and ended up winning the game. I can't believe it.
Dude, Melvin Ingram almost got his second touchdown of the season.
Yeah, he did. It was on the 5-yard line. Yeah. What more can you say? I mean, as far as
that's our show. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah. That's Josh Allen threw 63 passes today. Tua Tagovailoa threw 18, and that's pretty reflective of how the game went. Because in the second half, the Bills put the ball in the air 50 times. The Dolphins put the ball in the air 12 times, and the Dolphins scored more points.
No, they did. And they won the one stat that matters. They won the turnover battle today. Tua went down in the second quarter, missed the most. I think he missed the rest of the first half. God, I'm so all over the place with everything going on.
No, Tua missed the last 1 minute of the first half. Yep. Teddy Bridgewater came in and went over 2 and just looked like he was not on the same page with his receivers. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. But Tua came in and he didn't play much in the second half because the Bills had the ball the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's fine. And really the two big plays, Paul, that it comes down to is Jalen Waddle had on one drive. Jalen Waddle had a 32-yard catch, and then he had a 45-yard catch on a 3rd and 22. And the Dolphins were down 17-14 at that time. And after that drive, the Dolphins were up 21-17, and the Bills got 2 points on a safety later on in the game on a play that we'll talk about later. But the main story is that you hold the Buffalo Bills to 19 points.
Well, we held the Buffalo Bills to 17 and we scored 2 of them ourselves. Let's face it. But no, it's the defense. They bent. There were players dropping left and right for both teams due to heat issues and things like that. There were complaints from the fans on both sides about the fact that their bench was in the sun, or the fact that Buffalo seemed to get 2 timeouts to just deal with their issues and not burn a timeout. There was a lot of different interesting storylines in this game, but at the end of the day, Miami did what they needed to do to come out of this game victorious.
And they did. And I've got to say, this is probably the most excited I've been in the last 25 years of being a Miami Dolphins fan. I don't say that lightly. The Bills were the number one team in the league heading into this game. USA Today, number one. CBS, number one. NFL.com, number one. ESPN, number one. The Dolphins beat them today. I mean,
and you know what else made it pleasing for me, just as a little side note, was after one of the Josh Allen touchdowns, you see him pointing at players saying, "Get out, you get out, you get out," as he's walking to the sideline. And later on in the game, whether Christian Wilkins was jawing or not, you see him literally jabbing it and rip off Christian Wilkins' face mask, and then get upset that the penalty was called on him. You got to see the 7 shades of a-hole that is Josh Allen in this game, no matter how talented he is.
Yeah, he is an a-hole, and he's the most talented player in the league who is still an a-hole. But we got that a-hole today, and I don't care if it's 400 yards. It was inside of a box, and it was 63 passes. So, and I look at this Dolphins defense, and I don't see in any way how they got carved up at all. They didn't.
No, and that's with Xavier Howard missing chunks of the game. That's with Byron Jones being out. That's with, a litany of issues on our side too. So yeah, I'm very interested to see if Miami can continue to build off of this for when we face the Bills later this season.
Yeah. And when you look at the next several games, I mean, we're talking about in four games, the Dolphins take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals on a short week on Thursday Night Football. And that's going to be a tough game to win, especially after how they played against the New York Jets here today. But after that, I mean, the quarterbacks that they face after that are really tumultuous when you take a look at it. I mean, you've got Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Jimmy Garoppolo. You've got 8 quarterbacks in a row who are not as good as anything that you face today. So now that the Dolphins are 3-0, even if they get slaughtered by the Bengals in the next game, you're talking about them being a team that's, even if they go 5-2 in the games or 5-3 in the games after that, they're going to be 8-3 after 11 games. I mean,
it's gonna be 11-0. Damn it, let's go.
Let's go. I mean, I'm excited. If you can win this is the toughest part of the Dolphins schedule. This was the thing we were afraid of heading into the season. And the Dolphins beat the Patriots at home. They beat the Ravens on the road. They beat the Bills at home today, 5-point underdogs. And now, I mean, I see the Bengals game as one you can win.
I do as well. The Bengals look like a very beatable team, especially when you look at some of Miami's pass rushers and the way that they create pressure. The Bengals can't protect, really anything right now as far as that goes. They did get the win today, but at the end of the day, their pass protection looks worse than anything we've seen in Miami in a decade. And that's saying a lot, especially since they supposedly fixed it, which, as Dolphin fans, we're all familiar with that famous message of, we fixed the pass protection this year. Well, guess what? We actually did this year, because Tua went down twice today, I think it was.
Yeah, not much. I mean,
and then, really that Matt Milano one, as Dolphins 316 pointed out in chat, probably should have been a roughing the passer call. I was very surprised it wasn't. Not because he got injured, but because Matt Milano took 2 steps, still was coming, and then put his hands in the middle of his chest and shoved. That's pretty much textbook.
I'll say something about the Matt Milano pass. That should have been a pick 6, but also
that's a different play that I'm talking about.
Okay, so you're talking about the roughing the passer one
that should have been
before. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, I understand that. So as far as how Tua performed today, he threw 18 passes. He completed 13 of them. And small part of me has been waiting to poke at Alec Ingold about this.
Should have been 14.
That first play of the game, or that first throw of the game, 1st and 15, Alec Ingold dropped the pass. I mean, that should have been a 25-yard completion, and I love Alec Ingold moving forward. I really do. But yeah, it should have been more. It should have been 15 out of 18 from Tua. And that's the exciting part of it.
So, and my apologies, my DirecTV did skip out a little bit on me. I didn't realize they actually called the roughing on that one. So good.
Gotcha. So Tua, 13 for 18 for 186 yards. And really, when you look at it, 90 of them came on one drive, but it was the most meaningful drive of the game. When you look at the second half for the Buffalo Bills, they had a 20-play, 97-yard drive that resulted in the field goal. And then they had several other drives in that half, 50 plays in that second half that resulted in only 6 points. And the Dolphins had 7 points in 12 plays on offense in the second half, thanks to Jalen Waddle.
The other interesting thing too was I know you brought it up already, and it's coming up in chat right now. The Matt Milano did drop that should have been pick 6, but Miami had a lot of balls right in their hands on defense in the second half that really could have been drive-killing interceptions against Josh Allen. That really could have changed the narrative. It was more Miami dropping those than it was just Josh Allen carving them up there. They gave a lot of second chance opportunities, although they did hold them to 3 points in those situations.
Yeah, and if they weren't being dropped, it was really tight coverage. I mean, you take a look at those plays that Josh Allen completed. I mean, that one early in the game to Devin Singletary that was 10, 15 yards. He just flipped it out to him. I mean, that's only a play that Josh Allen can make, So I can't. It always seemed like
I
the
still
Dolphins.
like when he tried to bounce pass on 4th down.
Yeah, and there was some lucky breaks for the Dolphins a little bit, but there was at no point in the game did I think that the Miami Dolphins were not at least going to compete with the Bills in this game, and that's what I was looking for in the first 3 quarters in the game. And then when they got into the 4th quarter, I thought they might win this one, and they did.
Yeah, and somebody brought up that Xavier Howard should have had a pick 6 for the second week in a row. Maybe he spent some time with Chris Clemens this offseason, because it's Xavier Howard is not intercepting balls that he normally would here. And it looks more like when Chris Clemens played in the secondary and would get in the way of everything and then just punch it to the ground.
That's a little extreme.
So far this year, it's not extreme. There's been 4 through the first 3 games where
he's right around the ball, and he's going to come away with a couple of them. And when we start to face these bad quarterbacks here after Joe Burrow, they're going to feast. And we get Byron Jones back. Ooh.
Yes, sir.
To
go with Cater Kohu and Keon Crossan.
Cater Kohu started today over Nick Needham. And Nick Needham played in the slot. He's the guy on defense that is kind of like the Landon Roberts of the secondary right now. He's not a bad player, but he's just a little bit slow. I can't get over that.
Yeah, well, because it usually shows up on tape when somebody's running by him for a catch.
Yeah.
Let's face it. And you know what? Speaking of Landon Roberts, I was not upset to see him leave the game today, since it wasn't a major injury, and see Sam Egwavon get in there in his place.
Yeah, Egwavon did get in there, and Duke Riley did as well. And I'll say this too. Jerome Baker, I thought, had the best game I've seen in years from him. I mean, he's always been somebody that gets a lot of depth and plays with speed at the linebacker position, but he had a big pass breakup downfield, and he had 2 or 3 other big plays too. I thought he showed what he was made of here in this game.
He looked like the December Jerome Baker of last year when he won NFL, or was it AFC or NFL Defensive Player of the Month?
He got something there, and for me, his shining moment was against the Chiefs when they played.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2020
on Pat Mahomes.
Yep. 28-yard sack. But him and Duke Riley, I think, bring a lot of speed to the middle of the defense. And Landon Roberts just doesn't, especially in a game like this, especially in the last 2 games when Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are those quarterbacks, and they can outrun Landon Roberts. That's just the simple thing about it. I mean, but we're not going to harp on the negatives any longer.
That's right. Because we won the goddamn game today.
We won the goddamn game. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So let's get to our grades here. Paul, quarterback, you.
I mean, Tua didn't make any big mistakes. I can't give him as high of a grade as last week, obviously. And, he showed a little grit getting back in there. It feels like an incomplete almost, but I can go with a solid B on this one for him. Didn't turn the ball over, didn't take a lot of sacks. Got lucky on a couple of passes, but then again, you could say that of any quarterback in the NFL on any given Sunday.
I'm going to match you on the B because
fine, I won't finish telling you why. Go ahead.
I'm going to match you on the B because to me, there were 2 big plays, positive and negative for Tua. One of them was the 3rd and 22. I mean, that was the game defining play where he tucked his foot back and just launched it between the cornerback and safety. The other play is Matt Milano, where he should have had the pick 6. So other than that, there's not a lot of passes to judge on. So I did
not like the pass with 1:30 left in the game out of his own end zone that very nearly could have been snatched up and completely turned that game on its head and been crushing.
Yeah,
that was not a well-decided pass to throw. Even if you've got to launch it high and far and out of bounds in that scenario.
I agree with that. Our running back, Chase Edmonds gets 2 touchdowns in this game, and he ran hard in between the tackles, but I can't overcome that when you look at the running back position, 14 carries, 32 yards, and Alec Ingold, as much as I love him, dropped that pass. So I'm going with the D+ out of the running backs.
I'm going to go with a C-. When called upon, they did okay. The fact that I'll go with a C actually. Chase may not have put up tremendous numbers today, but he did put 2 scores on the board and made some nice moves to get in that end zone. So while the yardage totals weren't there, the touchdown totals were. And with that being the case, I can give him a C. There's a lot more to be desired there. But again, it's the Dolphins didn't spend a tremendous amount of time on offense, like you alluded to. I mean, even when they were matching up with the Bills at 14-14, they had the Melvin Ingram fumble recovery at the 6-yard line. It's not like they had long field to go, and Miami did win a lot of field position games today.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about 18 offensive throws and 14 runs from the running back. I mean, they did not play a lot on offense today. And part of the reason is because the Bills were having long, sustained drives that the Dolphins were shutting down at the end of the day. And that's the reason they won this game 21-19. And the reason we should be excited as shit. I love it. Where was I?
The championship belt is coming out, baby. Oh,
let's go.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Go. All right. Receiver. It goes along the same territory. Wide receiver and tight end. Jalen Waddle made the 2 biggest plays of the game. A 35-yard catch that brought the Dolphins downfield, and then the big catch on the 3rd and 22 play. Other than that, there's not much to note. I mean, fantasy football owners who have Tyreek Hill are probably going to be pretty pissed that he has 2 catches for 33 yards, but can't do much as far as the flow of the game. Mike Gesicki, 1 catch for 6 yards. And Durham Smythe, great job blocking here today. And caught 3 dump off passes for 23 yards. So I'm going to go with a solid B for them because Waddle made the plays of the game and there wasn't a lot more to go on.
Yeah, no, I mean it's and Waddle did have that sweet end around for 9 yards as well. But again, it's I can go with a B- here because when push came to shove, Jalen Waddle got it done in this game. And the fact that, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 different guys caught passes among those 18 throws or 20 throws. Really should have been an additional one based on the Alec Ingold drop early in the game, which I know he wishes he had back. But I don't hate what I saw from the wide receiver position today. They weren't dropping the ball a lot. We just didn't have a lot of throwing attempts.
And I'm curious what you think of Eric Ezekama still being inactive.
I'm glad you asked that.
Can't you just draw up one play for him? Just keep him on the active list.
So I actually had a really good interaction with Marcel Louis-Jacques and Donnie, somebody who's a Jets fan this week, because Marcel Louis-Jacques had a really well thought out answer from Wes Welker as far as the playing time of Eric Ezekama. The fact that it's a luxury that they haven't had to put him out there yet and that his time will come. The fact that, there's a lot to the receiver position that people don't think about. The fact that, I mean, it's the entirety of it's literally 2 separate screenshots with the entirety of the answer, but I'd actually urge Dolphin fans to go look at it. It's actually a really cool, honest, and insightful answer as far as the coaching perspective with a player like Ezekama, the amount that goes into the wide receiver position that people don't think about on a daily basis. And, the fact that River Craycraft is playing very well. The fact that other than, being on the punt team, Trent Sherfield's playing well. We've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson. I mean, we've got a glut at the tight end position. So there's not a tremendous need right now to force Eric into action before he's ready.
I think it's the offensive version of Channing Tindall. I mean, they're just not quite there yet. And it's important for Mike McDaniel that they're understanding the position before they actually get into meaningful roles. And, but can you drop one play for him? Keep him active? I don't know.
Yeah, but
anyway, River Craycraft caught his 2nd touchdown catch today.
Miami's been doing a tremendous job of managing their game day roster. So there is no feast or famine at any position. So if for them keeping Ezekama inactive right now is the way to go, I'm okay with it. I really am.
And when you're 3-0, you get the benefit of the doubt. That's the fun thing. Offensive line, I got to tell you, Teron Armstead, even with a bad toe, it is just glorious to see this guy at left tackle. He is just brilliant. The Dolphins don't win this game. No chance of winning this game without Teron Armstead. And I'll say the same thing for Connor Williams. Connor Williams had some high snaps today. I mean, really bad high snaps. And Tua bailed him out on several of those high snaps. And Robert Hunt at the right guard position went down, but other than that, he was really good. And at right tackle, Greg Little, we'll see what happens with his finger moving forward. But I like that the Dolphins. What's that?
He came back in, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So
So there has to be the assumption that he's going to come back and he's going to be fine on Thursday Night Football. Eichenberg, I've got to look at closer because last time I said that he played a good game because I didn't hear much from him, but we'll see. After I break down the left guard position.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is Buffalo only had not only 2 sacks in this game, they only had 3 quarterback hits in this game. That is a tremendous
Wow
stat for a rehashed Miami offensive line this year that's doing very well in pass protection. I mean, you're facing a team that, yes, they were missing a little bit in the middle of their defense, but you're still facing a team with Von Miller, Boogie Basham, Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, Gregory Rousseau, Shaq Lawson. Like you start running down the list of pass rushers they have, and Miami was able to get it done as far as that blocking goes for the passing game. And I'm very happy with this offensive line, and I'll give them a B+ for my end.
Yeah, I'm going to match you on the B+ too. It was the run offense was not great, but when they tried to run the ball, they had more success. So I'm hoping that they can break a lot more runs moving forward, and I hope they promote Zaquandre Wright too moving forward.
Zaquandre White, yes.
Zaquandre White moving forward because they need. I still feel like at running back they need a big back, and Sony Michel probably wasn't going to be that guy before he got cut, but Zaquandre White might be that guy. I mean,
say it with me, Kat. Quan, Dre, Zaquandre
White.
Yes.
What?
No, I'm waiting for you to try it again because I'm a big fan of Zaquandre White.
Zaquandre White. Promote him.
Yes.
Have him run north to south. That's it.
Oh, and he makes some good cuts. Let's face it.
Defensive side of the ball.
D-line, I'll let you go first.
Front 7. So we're going to go with front 7 first. A lot to cover on this, but Emmanuel Ogbah, I thought, had by far his best game of the year.
Yeah.
And Jalen Phillips, he's gotten dogged a lot in the last couple of games, but he's also somebody that is kind of that defensive end, outside linebacker hybrid guy that covers a lot of ground. He doesn't have the same responsibilities as Emmanuel Ogbah, and Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer, defensive tackle, played phenomenal in this game. They really did. I mean, the Bills did not have much room at all to run. Raekwon Davis was also inactive. But also Jerome Baker, like I said, best game for the Dolphins in years. The ground that he covered, and he also broke up a big play down the field in the third quarter, 20 yards down the field. So I like a lot of what they did. And of course, Melvin Ingram, 2 sacks, fumble recovery, somebody who Melvin Ingram and Trey Flowers closed out this football game today for the Dolphins, as far as I'm concerned, with the pressure that they brought. I'm going to go with a B+ for that front 7.
I am going to go with a B+ as well. They, did allow Josh Allen to escape a little bit, but at the same time, they got 10 quarterback hits on him. They sacked him 4 times in this game, although 1.5 were Javon Holland. They put pressure on him all day, whether he escaped or not. And in reality, that should have been 5 sacks. If Quessenberry didn't do his best impression of a cattle roper, when he got flagged for the penalty for holding, and literally just bent Agba backwards trying to keep him from murdering Josh Allen on that play.
Yep. Absolutely. Defensive back, I'm going to throw it back to you on that.
Boo. Oof. I mean, Javon Holland, like I just said, had a sack and a half. Brandon Jones got beat a couple times today. Probably one of his weaker games that I've seen from him overall, though he did have a few big plays. Nick Needham, he wasn't ready. But at the same time, they forced Josh Allen into throwing to not just Diggs, which is huge. Diggs had 7 catches on the day, but they forced him to utilize his other weapons. It was basically you're not going to beat us with him. And that's given the fact that while we talked about Buffalo's injuries, Xavier Howard wasn't out there the whole day. He was out there in for a good chunk of it. But where you had Nick Needham, Kader Kohu, Keon Cross, and broke up a touchdown pass that probably saved the game in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing to point out too that we didn't talk about against Gabe Davis. I mean, he catches that, and the Dolphins are down, and may not be able to come back. I mean, and Crossan hasn't made a lot of plays on the defensive side of the ball, but there's a constant. When you look at the defensive backs, constantly stepping up out of nowhere to make plays, except Noah Igbenogany.
Noah Igba doesn't matter.
What's your grade?
This is so all over the place, but I'm going to go with a B- here. Josh Allen still threw for 400 yards. They left a few interceptions on the field. Nick Needham did get roasted a little bit. But again, they made big plays when they mattered. So it's not a negative B-. It's just a B-. I'm
going to go with a B+ for them, because I thought Brandon Jones had a better game than a lot of people thought. You know, he was in position a lot of the time. He just didn't. There was one play to Devin Singletary that on a 25 yard play on a 3rd down that he didn't get his head around, but he was so close on that play. Javon Holland, a sack and a half, and had the most defining play of the game, which was the forced fumble that Melvin Ingram picked up. Kader Kohu started the game over Nick Needham, and he continues to be a major storyline in this season for the Dolphins. Xavier Howard, outstanding perform. He's not outstanding, but he left the game early. He did well. He did better this game.
One thing that somebody pointed out in chat earlier, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was, is the fact that Xavier Howard has been a much more visible vocal leader this season thus far, which I think is pretty cool out in that secondary, but across the entirety of the team. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan of that. That's something I like to see from football players. It's like what I like to see from the kids I coach, which I'm going to do a big quick shout out to them for pulling off a tough victory today. But like Xavier Howard, look, he's gonna start picking up those interceptions in fits and droves here as we move forward.
Yep. And on the special teams unit, Thomas Morstead,
you first,
had 4 punts inside the 16-yard line. This guy is becoming one of my favorite Dolphins, and we've had him on the show too. He is fantastic. But as on the special teams unit, we can't ignore basically the ass punt here from Trent Sherfield. But Jason Sanders did not attempt any field goals other than extra points. And I thought Morstead was a star today.
He was.
And
So
luckily, Justin Bethel. Yeah, absolutely. And he's been a 3-time Pro Bowler. on special teams. So yeah, these things matter in the game. It also matters when you stick your butt out and get it punted off of, like Trent Sherfield did. So but overall,
That wasn't his back.
it
It was a small circular muscle that, given the force that an NFL punt typically comes off somebody's leg, is very lucky that wasn't a very stretched muscle from that impact.
yeah, that it wasn't. Luckily, it did not ruin the game. So I'm going to give the special teams unit a B+.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure on that missed field goal, looking back at it, and this is something that I will give. Oh God, I'm blanking on the name, so I'll give him credit after the fact. I retweeted him for it. It looked like Bethel got a finger on that ball. And that being the case, this is so all over the map because, newsflash, my Coke Bus player of the game is on special teams and probably can't sit without a donut tonight. But you know what? I'll match you on the B+ here. I'm not going to nitpick over one play that didn't lose us the game.
So piggybacking on that, who is your player of the game and your Coke Bus player of the game?
Player of the game, I am going to throw that to, well, Coke Bus, we'll go with Sherfield. Nice and easy. Put the Bills in position to just need a field goal to come back and win it. Even though Morstead, after that ass punt, can we talk about the fact that he kicked the living donkey snot out of that ball on the ensuing free kick?
Yeah, that was a big play in the game because after the safety, he kicked it down to the 7-yard line. And if he kicked it to the 30, that would be a completely different game with Josh Allen having the football. So
yeah, I'm going to go with Javon Holland, though, for my player of the game, even though I'm actually inclined to say Morstead. I'm going to go Javon Holland because he did have some big difference making plays in this one. And there were a few guys. Melvin Ingram was another one I thought about. But I'm going to go with Javon Holland just because I love that little bastard.
Yeah, I mean, he played very well today. I mean, a sack and a half, biggest play of the game. And he also broke up two passes in the final drive. I mean, no shame in that. So my player of the game, going to go Jalen Waddle because he made the two biggest plays of the game, 32-yard catch. And also on a 3rd and 22, he catches a 45-yard pass. That is what made the Miami Dolphins win the game and put them up 21-17.
And real quick before you move on from that, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to be probably hitting it fast and heavy this week with the short week as well, with Cincy coming up on Thursday. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. That way you get the notifications as soon as we go live, or as soon as a recording goes up in this one.
You bet. And my Coke Bus player of the game, it's really hard to tell because there weren't a lot of bad standouts. So I'm going to just double down from last week and say Landon Roberts. I think he has no business being on the football field. None at all. Duke Riley is a better player and Jerome Baker had the game of his life, as far as I'm concerned. He probably should be the player of the game for me. But Landon Roberts, unless it's a 4th and 1, unless you're talking about somebody in the locker room, no, not good enough. So he's got to get off the field.
You could take matters into your own hands on this one. Do you want to know how?
Get a number 52 jersey.
You could order your very own a Landon Roberts jersey from NFL.com. And as with every jersey you've ever purchased, whether it was a Goodwill find or from the official website or anywhere in between, every single one of those jerseys that you purchase comes with its very own cat curse upon the player that utterly ruins their life and livelihood.
I don't want the man to die,
Well, none of them have yet.
I still have a Dan Marino jersey.
Look, Madden still put people on the cover even after it was very well proven that put some bad juju on their career for that year.
Yeah. Madden. I absolutely love that cover for this year with John Madden football.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, John Madden. And that's going to do it for our breakdown of the Dolphins' 21-19 victory over the Buffalo Bills. I'm Brian Cat NFL, Paulus Fanatic _pick. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, as well as the finfanatic.com website and the FanSide Network. And if it's not in the right side,